This just in, P. Diddy is not guilty, boys. How? I am not sure. But I have my lead news correspondent, Penguin Zero, here to break down the details for us and shed a little bit of his thoughts as well as I shed my insight. So let's see what he has to say, because this is crazy, and I do respect his opinion on this. And yeah, let's do it.
What an infuriating and sad day. I guess all the baby oil paid.
he don't even need to say that, bro. His tone is just, he's either happy, sad, mad, and it's all the same tone.
Off for P. Diddy because he was too slippery for the justice system. I cannot believe it.
He's like the lubed up deaf guy from Family Guy. The law enforcement just can't get him. You know what I mean? Verdict reached in Diddy's trial. We have reached a verdict on all counts.
Now reached a verdict on all the charges, and he has been acquitted of the most serious ones.
What?
Wait.
So he's been acquitted on the most serious ones, meaning they either didn't have enough evidence, because there was a fuck ton of evidence, was there not? And then it's either that or it's like he just has insane dirt on people that they're just like, yeah, let's just push this under the rug. Let's pay the jury to fucking say he's innocent.
Lord of Lube wiggles his way out of it somehow, despite overwhelming evidence to support the allegations against P. Diddy about the decades worth of evil, criminal activities and actions he has done, terrorizing.
See, that's what I thought. I thought there was a shit ton of evidence on this guy. What's going on here?
Music industry and so many individuals. It seems like the dawn of dildos is about to get away with a slap on the wrist.
Bro, he has so many epithets for Diddy right now.
And maybe not even that much. He's been found guilty on 2 of the lesser charges, which could carry a maximum of 20 years in prison. But I've completely lost faith in the system here. I have to imagine this is all just now horseradish and barnacles. I think he will probably just get away with like 6 months probation or some shit.
5 counts.
Yeah, that's more than likely what's going to happen, because he's already spending time right now. So look, let's take a look. Count 1, racketeering and conspiracy, not guilty. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, not guilty. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution, guilty. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, not guilty. Count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution, guilty. But isn't transportation to engage in prostitution sex trafficking? Or is it sex trafficking by force? Because it's against our will, so it's sex trafficking. And then transportation to engage in prostitution means that they're willing to do that. So that's what he's guilty for, which is just a prostitution charge, which is probably not, he's probably not going to do any time because he's already been doing time, so they're probably just going to book that towards the time when they do sentence him, right?
We have a mixed verdict here. Again, count 1 as it relates to racketeering, not guilty. Count 2.
Was there evidence to him racketeering? Like setting up gangs? I mean, could you imagine if he actually was the one that got Biggie and Tupac killed because of racketeering? You know how crazy that would have been if that came out, true. Even if he was, guilty here, or, he's not guilty, but even if he was guilty for that, you could make a strong case that you could tie that all the way back to the 90s.
As it relates to sex trafficking, not guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, not guilty. Count 5, guilty.
Those 2 counts he was found guilty on, that was like Weenie Hut Jr. level charges compared to the rest, and it's something the defense, I imagine, was extremely pleased to have been found guilty on versus the rest. They were so happy, in fact, that reportedly P. Diddy even stood up and started clapping. Literally a Tumblr fanfic.
Bro started clapping because he was only guilty for prostitution. He got up and was like, "That's right. I only fuck prostitutes, male and female. I told you."
He stood up, started clapping, and then
But wait, hold on. Didn't he fucking abuse Cassie, though? Like, isn't there domestic violence charges somewhere? Where the hell is that? Because didn't she get beat up a bunch of times? And wasn't she forced to have sex with male prostitutes? Like, what are we talking about?
Friends and family erupted into applause. Now the judge is considering what bail should be, and we move on to the next.
Bail's going to be pocket change for Diddy. He's got one Ciroc sponsor, and that pays off bail right there.
Next stage, which will be the sentencing for these two charges, which carry a maximum of 10 years each. He's not going to be seeing the maximum. He probably won't even be seeing the minimum.
Yeah,
they might just.
He's going to be on hard probation, house arrest, which, I mean, I wouldn't want that man on house arrest. He does a lot of freaky shit in that house, so you're pretty much just putting him back in his domain.
Just let him walk away with being forced to play League of Legends solo queue for like 2 months or something, and that'll be his punishment.
Oh, yeah.
It is such.
Make him solo queue ranked Rainbow Six or ranked Marvel Rivals.
A fucking joke what just happened here. I actually still can't believe it. It is sickening.
Yeah, I mean, this just proves if you got money and or dirt on Hollywood and, you know, big names, you could do whatever the fuck you want, and you're not going to get put in jail for anything.
Oh, I truly wouldn't be surprised if he just fully walks free from this, and I guess we can expect the grand reopening of Puffy Flavor Camp.
Oh, yeah, he's walking
Everyone
free.
out there, sleep in fear. Make sure...
Yo, he walks free and then opens his own line of flavored lube and makes billions.
You're sleeping on your back, because if you sleep on your stomach, P. Diddy might just break into your house in the middle of the night and shove a dildo up your ass. It is still just so fucking unbelievable to me. I thought this was dead to rights. Not only because of the overwhelming evidence, but also...
That's what I thought. I thought there was just so much evidence against this guy that it was undeniable that he would be guilty of something crazy. How is, like, I just don't understand what's going on here.
His team wasn't exactly a cohesive unit. Like,
Yeah,
not
didn't one of his lawyers, like, drop out of the case? Because he was like, bro, this shit is not, we cannot win this, and I can't defend you. Wasn't that, like, a whole thing?
that long ago, one of his big lawyers quit, saying he
Exactly.
could no longer, under any circumstances, represent him, serve as a member of his council. And somehow, they were still able to squeak a win out from between P. Diddy's greased butt cheeks here.
I seen that one coming. I heard him say squeezed out, and I knew butt cheeks were coming somewhere after that.
I don't know. Did they promise, like, freak-off invitations to the jury? I have no clue. I don't get it. I really, truly do not understand.
Yeah, he was like, hey, if you guys serve me not guilty, you guys can come to all freak-offs from here on out, free of charge. No lube. You don't need to bring your own lube. I got enough for everybody.
How this just happened.
It's a mixed verdict, but it is a stunning victory for the defense. The Mann Act, these charges, these were the easiest for prosecutors to prove.
Dude, even the news reporter sounds like she's, like, pissed, like, you know, surprised. She's like, these are the fucking... you guys let them off on the hardest ones, but you charge them for the easiest ones, the ones that we have the easiest evidence for.
The lowest hanging fruit merely required showing that state lines were crossed for the purpose to engage in prostitution. We saw a lot of
Okay, so that's all they needed to show for the prostitution is that state lines were crossed. And then they're like, okay, obviously guilty for that. But then, oh, man.
evidence on these charges did not have that element, Laura, of force, fraud, or coercion. And this carries the lightest sentence of these charges. It is a maximum of 10 years. And keep in mind,
she
when
wants
you're
him to go
talking
to
about
You can hear it in her
maximums,
voice.
maximums aren't the rule. They are the exception. They're for the most exceptional and severe cases.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about a sentence
Bro's looking at maybe 2 years. Maybe.
that's potentially in the lower range with time served because he's been behind bars.
And then he's going to get off on good behavior, so maybe a year.
Yeah, again, he's definitely not seeing the maximum penalty for those charges. I would be surprised if he even saw the minimum. My guess would be, and of course I haven't passed the bar, so this is just fucking Neanderthal spitballing. My guess would be they'll weigh the time served behind bars throughout this case as like, you've learned your lesson, and wiggle their finger. Don't do it again.
So that's what I was saying. Like, he's already spent time during this whole trial, so they're probably going to add that to whatever time they might give him, which, you know, might give him.
And give him some really light punishment. Very, very light sentencing. And then when he's out on bail or full-blown walks free, I imagine baby oil will go extinct. And I predict that there will...
Dude, I'm telling you, he needs to come out with his own line. Instead of baby oil, Diddy oil. He comes out with his own Diddy oil. That shit would fly off the shelves. I am telling you.
be a freak-off the likes of which the cosmos has never seen. It'll be filled with so much degeneracy that it will give birth to Slanesh in the warp in real life. It's going to be a Warhammer 40k event. It's just so fucking despicable, man. It really is.
That's our that's our justice system, though, right? Despicable. That is our justice system.
These sex trafficking charges, specifically with respect to Cassie Ventura, means that the jury was convinced by the defense, at least with respect to reasonable doubt, that the commercial sex, i.e. the freak-offs, were not connected to some of this violence, that there was not that force, fraud, or coercion.
Wait, hold on. I need to replay that. I need to listen to that again. What?
The fact that these sex trafficking charges, specifically with respect to Cassie Ventura, means that the jury was convinced by the defense, at least with respect to reasonable doubt, that the commercial sex, i.e. the freak-offs, were not connected to some of this violence, that there was not that force, fraud, or coercion element. That is, by far, from a penalty perspective, the most serious.
Wait, hold on. So the crimes against Cassie are not connected to the sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, but he still forced Cassie to do shit that she didn't want to do with male prostitutes. So why are we separating the two? What are we talking about? Just because the freak-offs didn't have nothing to do with Cassie doesn't mean that Cassie's whole shit didn't fucking happen. Like, is that what I'm hearing right now? Am I misinterpreting this?
It carried a 15-year minimum. So that is a huge distinction.
Really feels like if you've got enough money, somehow a lot of those very serious, very well-documented things just never really seem to stick.
Of course. And that's not just Diddy. We've seen this with a billion other things. That's why Epstein and the files haven't came out yet, because somebody somewhere has a fuck ton of money and he's paying everyone to be quiet. Right? Just ask the FBI. You know, you don't even have to ask the FBI head. He just let him ramble on. You could see for yourself that he doesn't want to say anything because people are being protected.
Court for some reason. It's so weird how that works. It's so odd.
Ask Joe Biden's son all the shit he got away with.
How we see that happen so many times. I don't know. Something seems a bit fishy there. From everything I've seen from a couple of lawyers discussing it, the big thing here seems that the RICO charges weren't conveyed well enough for the jury to understand, and that it could have been, like, difficult in the first place as a potential overcharging on P. Diddy, so that was like an uphill battle. Obviously, I don't understand all the nuance to how that shit works.
Yeah, I don't understand how you don't understand, and you're a part of the jury. That's what I'm fucked up with. How do you not get what they're telling you? You're confused, and you're like, oh, I don't really get this. This might just, they conveyed it in a way to confuse the jury, or to make them be like, oh, I don't really, like, what?
Works in court, like how it all shakes down, the fucking Rube Goldberg machine that is arguing RICO charges. I'm not Saul Goodman. But outside of that, the lawyers also expressed how stunned they were that he was found not guilty on the sex trafficking by force and coercion. It seems like, at least from the lawyers that I've read and watched from, they were also very surprised that somehow the jury wasn't convinced on those.
That's what I'm saying. How are you not convinced on that? There's just so much evidence of, like, what are we talking about?
That one really did seem like a pretty big slam dunk in the case.
That's not a slam dunk. That's a D-Wade to LeBron alley-oop, son. You know what I mean? That's a Kobe to Shaq oopster.
Like, at least most sane human beings would think so, but somehow it didn't stick. Somehow it didn't
because the jury was paid off. Dude, it has to be, right? You can't be that dumb to not look at all of that and be like, yeah, there was nothing fishy here. Yeah, no, definitely not. Like,
shake out that way. To be found not guilty on those.
And I guarantee you, if they were paid off, it was for like 10 G's, 50 G's, maybe. Some shit that they're going to blow in a year or two.
Is baffling. Actually baffling. And I went to a live stream where some lawyers were talking, and reading the chat, it will make you lose all possible faith that there's real people online. There are so many people that are elated, celebrating that P. Diddy is free, and saying he should go as far as suing the government for the charges they brought against him. Unironic.
Suing the government for defamation, but there's evidence out there that shows that this isn't defamation. It's just a dumbass group of jury thinks that he's not guilty.
Likely. I saw someone donate saying, does P. Diddy have a case against the government to sue them for this? Holy shit. What? I don't know how so many people have been poisoned.
But does he? Like, does he?
By stupidity. Like an action. There must be some kind of hole in the ozone layer that's letting pure concentrated stupid come through. And it is just destroying neurons at an alarming rate. Such an unfortunate outcome. There's a lot of people that are now going to need to be looking over their shoulder here with this P. Diddy verdict. One of them being a bodyguard who said if P. Diddy walks, he's going to need to go into hiding.
Oh, shit. See, and now, but listen, would you, though? Because if something happens, they could just tie it right back to Diddy. You know what I mean? If something happens to these people who took a stand against, against Diddy and came out and, what is it called when you testify? You testify against Diddy? Like, if something happens to those people, I think it's just only obvious that Diddy's behind it at that point, right? But, I mean, definitely you would want to be looking over your shoulder now that Diddy's innocent.
I think that's not an exaggeration. He most likely will, in order to stay alive. This is a dangerous man with an extremely well-recorded history of horrible shit he has done, who is now getting let off very easily here. Now, if you're a sane, sensible person, you're probably pretty angered by the outcome, but we don't live in a world where everyone's sane and sensible.
Nope. We live in a world where people are blinded by the truth and paid off and blinded by money, and, our justice system is just dog shit, and it has been for so long. And yeah, that's just the life that we live here in America. We live in a retarded simulation here.
There's a not small group of people, the Free Diddy drones, that are very, very pleased. They're very excited that P. Diddy is going to be most likely getting let off super, super easily. They are elated right now, these fucking weirdos. They're acting like they're part of the crew, part of the ship, like they'll get the invite to the next freak off. And they are so happy. Fucking weirdos out there. It's crazy how...
Yeah, I mean, it's only 1% of people. It's not like it's a ton of people. But 1% of a million people, I mean, that is a lot of people at the end of the day to honestly go against what I just said. Yeah. It's a shockingly good amount of people that are backing this guy and want him to be innocent. And it's the same thing with, like, R. Kelly simps. You know what I mean? That want R. Kelly to be free. Like, it's the same exact thing. It's just so weird.
Anyone can view this as anything other than a disaster. A fucking travesty where the justice system just failed so many people. Yeah, I'll stop ranting and raving about it. That's really about it.
Don't stop ranting and raving about it. We need to let them know they're wrong, they're stupid, they're idiots. The justice system has failed us once again. Letting the lunatic back out on the street with so many people talking about how he threatened them, so many people coming out talking about how he's abused people. Cassie literally has just so much dirt on this guy about how she was abused, forced to have sex with people while he watched. Like, there's no reason a man like that should be out on the streets. It's ridiculous.